Here's a trick called four-ace surprise. This is by a mathematician named Arthur Benjamin. He's also a professor of mathematics, and he likes to call himself a mathematician by combining math and magic. This is one of the card tricks, and I'll include a link to the original effect in the description. I like to start off by taking the deck and cutting the cards into 3 piles. Then I start to lay down the cards in kind of a strange pattern. So starting in the top left corner, I'll come down diagonally with the first 4 cards, and then continue back the other way. So it kind of gives me an X shape. From there, I'll fill in 2 at a time. And then I'm ready to begin. Okay, and what I'll start doing is I'll begin by asking the participant, do you remember the game concentration, where you turn over a couple of cards to see if you can find a match? So in that case, I lost. Then I'll try again, turn over a couple cards. Oh, and there it is. I got lucky that time. Those 5s do match. Okay. From there, I'll say, you didn't come to watch me play concentration, so we'll do something a little bit different. I want you to imagine that these cards represent a blanket, and we're going to go ahead and fold the blanket. You could fold the top down, the bottom up. You could fold this left side over or the right side in, however you'd like to do it. How would you like to do it? Let's say they say fold the top down. I'll bring these top cards down. Now they'll say maybe fold the bottom up. After that, they might say fold the left side in. And maybe they'll say fold the left side in again. Maybe now they'll say fold the right side in. And last but not least, let's say they say fold the bottom up. Okay? At this point, you can say, okay, do you feel that you've accomplished anything magical? And let them know that this is one of those effects that doesn't always work, right? It doesn't have the highest probability of being correct, because in order for it to work, they would have had to fold correctly every time. So at this point, you can take the cards, fan them out, and you can see why the trick is named four-ace surprise. Now, how did we do that? Well, we begin with the 4 aces stacked on top of the deck. Okay? That's the only thing you really have to do. Okay? And that's the reason why I lay them down in that kind of strange X pattern. I'm immediately putting my 4 aces down along that first diagonal. Okay? Now you don't have to do it that way. If you would prefer, you could deal the cards 1 row at a time, left to right. If you did, this would be card number 1, this would be the 6th card, the 11th card, and the 16th card. Okay, stacked on top of the deck. I make it a little simpler, just putting them right on top and dealing them down right away. Okay, people actually seem to kind of like it because it's an unusual way of dealing the cards down, and it's not particularly suspicious. Okay, so that's the first setup. Now I come back up the other way to complete my X shape. Okay, and now I'm going to go ahead and fill in the cards 2 at a time. Okay. 2 here, 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 and 2 here. Now, in order for the trick to work, where the 4 aces are turned over at the end of the trick, okay, there's something else you have to do. You have to turn over these 2 cards at the beginning, and if you remember, I said I was playing the game concentration to see if I found a match. And you also have to turn over these 2 cards. okay? Now you'll notice now these two cards are not matching, but I set up the deck so that they would match, so that it looked like I really was playing the game Concentration, and I found a match on those two cards. Again, you don't have to do that if you don't want to, but I think it adds a little something extra to kind of give you an excuse for turning over these 4 cards. Okay, so why these 4 cards? Why is it so important that these 4 cards are turned over? Well, here's why. These 4 cards go with the 4 aces. The 4 aces, you remember, are on the diagonal here. Okay? And if you take a minute and you look, you might be able to figure out the relationship between the 4 aces and these other 4 cards. Okay? They alternate. Okay? Or you can think of these 8 cards, which are now face up, you can think of them as the odd cards. I say odd because this would be card number 1, 2, card number 3, 4, card number 5, 6, card number 7, and it continues. 8, 9 is face up, 11 is face up, 13 is face up, 15 is face up. So those cards all go together. If you think of a checkerboard, and these cards were laid out on a checkerboard, the face-up cards right now, let's say, would be on the light-colored squares. And these face-down cards would be on the dark squares. And you might be wondering, why does that matter? Well, the reason it matters is because it does not matter how the spectator folds the cards. Whether they go from the bottom up, or the top down, left, right. You would think it would, right? You would think it would make a difference, but it doesn't, okay? The only thing it does is it determines at the end whether your 4 aces are going to be face up or face down, okay? So let's go through it again. It doesn't matter how they fold the cards. Let's say they folded the bottom up, and they wanted to fold the bottom up again, and they wanted to fold the bottom up again. Doesn't matter, okay? And now they say fold the right side in, whoops, making a mess, and fold the left side in, and fold the left side in again. Now notice that ace on top, right? When I fold this in again, you can see my aces now are going to be face down, okay? That's totally fine. What it means is I'm not going to fan the cards the way they are right now, right? Those are not the cards I want. So, once I collect the cards, I'll just pick them up, then turn them over. And now, I'll fan the cards to show my 4 aces. Okay? And that's pretty much it. I guess the only other thing I would mention is at the beginning of the trick, I did a false cut, which you may have noticed. Okay, I've done that in a couple of my other videos, but let me just show you that real quick. There's 2 ways that I do the false cut. Sometimes I do it with the cards flat on the table, okay? This time I did it with the cards in my hand, like so. And all I'm doing is taking the top group, the middle group, and the bottom group, and laying them down. And now I collect them in that same order. Top, on the middle, on the bottom. So nothing has changed. The cards are in exactly the same order, okay? That's a false cut that you can use. It seems a little obvious once you know it, but it does fool the spectator, okay? And that's pretty much it. Again, that is called the 4-ace surprise. Maybe you don't want to give the name of the trick ahead of time because it sort of gives away the ending, I guess, right? But that's the name, and again, as I mentioned, that's by Arthur Benjamin. There'll be a link in the description, and you can go ahead and read the original trick if you'd like to. Hope that was helpful, and if you have any questions, go ahead and just put them in the comment section. Thanks.